Picture this. It's a Wednesday, you've had a long hard day at school, drawing smiley faces on your pencil case, and you just want to come home and chill. You load up your Xbox 360 with that satisfying sound, and Battlefield 1943 comes on. This gem from 2009. Everybody's stuck in the hype of the disaster of 2043 or even Battlefield 5 back a few years ago, but I think everybody has forgotten of the true Battlefield World War II masterpiece, or at least the one that introduced me to the series. Yes, this was the first Battlefield game I ever played. Being console exclusive in 2009, EA wanted to try something a little bit different. DICE had come off the back of building a successful franchise with Battlefield 2, and boy, they were not slowing down. It was only available on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but once again taking you back to World War II, offering some of the most iconic battles in, wait for it, the Pacific Theater. And this is what made it special for me. You see, most World War II games, including the later Battlefield 5, are always in the European theater of war, or even on the Eastern Front in Russia. And don't get me wrong, it's pretty cool. I like Stalingrad, I like fighting in Belgium and France and Foy as much as the next guy, but I think this Pacific Theater is just getting such a miss. And later on in Battlefield 5, yeah, they released an update that let you play in Pacific, but hey, these guys were the first to do it. 1943, that's where my jam was. Being console, it had some of the limitations. You could play in online battles, but they weren't exactly massively multiplayer like the Battlefield that we know and love today. It was 24 players, and having 12 on each side didn't really feel small at the time, but I think that's just down to clever map design. It was severely limited in terms of maps, especially since there was only 3. Imagine a Battlefield game now only having 3 maps, but I loved them. Each one had its own unique spin, whether it was fighting up the hill from the airfield on Iwo Jima, and boy, the bunker at the top was a hell of a one to try and kill, or the more open spaces of Guadalcanal. Okay, it was probably the weakest one. And then you have Wake Island, the iconic horseshoe shape that really made you love being a sniper, seeing people right from the other side and being able to pop a shot over there. Starting on an aircraft carrier, you could hop in one of the iconic US Marine boats, jump down into the ocean with a full-on drop, and ride it straight into the shore, cascading onto the sandy beaches and hopping out while people shoot machine guns off every which way. Whether you want to hop in a jeep or a tank, because you can do that, or stay on foot to capture the points. By the way, on that note, you could also fly planes in this, and I remember at the time being so bad at it because it was possibly the worst plane controls that I have ever used, or it might just be the fact that I was about 11 years old. That could also be a factor. But despite the maps and the lacking content, tanks, jeeps, planes, boats, these were all things that Battlefield had championed over the years, and they were bringing it back for a really small console exclusive game, and I feel like people don't talk about it enough. Because in terms of small experiences, I think Battlefield 1943 really had it. It had a full destruction system. It was so impressive, I remember at the time, even for consoles, being able to blow up buildings and structures, hiding inside little bunkers, and then a tank shoots a shell into the door and it just blasts open. Okay, it wasn't as impressive as Siege of Shanghai dropping down on people, or even 2043 later on, but still, for 2009, for Xbox 360, I don't think I really wanted anymore. You had a full class-based system, as most Battlefield games, whether it's Rifleman, Infantry, where you had more of a submachine gun, Scouts, where you got your sniper, and Engineer, where you got killed and didn't really do all that much. Okay, you could fix tanks and planes, but who was really paying attention to any of that stuff? Each class, though, had its own unique weapons and abilities. You could pick one that fit your playstyle, and, well, you could try and do a bit of teamwork and help with your others, but as I mentioned, this is 12 players on each team. There wasn't any of the iconic Battlefield squad-based gameplay, so you're not going to be talking in voice chat, helping people up as the medic, or doing any of that sort of thing. Also, because there isn't a medic class. They actually got it right in that Battlefield. They took out the medic class because they knew that even with it in, nobody used it. So, I love the game, and I think there's probably some people that might have even forgotten about 1943 that still love the game. But did it actually have any impact in the gaming world? Did it actually at the time do anything? Well, when it hit the scene, it actually did receive a good amount of love from both the critics and the players. People liked that Battlefield experience, but of course complained it was much of a smaller scale. Yet back in 2009, we hadn't yet experienced Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, the iconic games that really pushed us into that larger scale, massively multiplayer games. So people were happy with this smaller, focused-based gameplay. Graphics also were really good. Going back now, okay, it has its issues, but I don't think it's an ugly game. For a 2009 Xbox 360 and PS3 game, I don't think you could ask for more in terms of graphical fidelity in a Battlefield, especially things like the explosions, being able to use things like rifle grenades to blow up pieces on walls as you go into a building that's being held by an enemy, trying to capture bunkers in these certain positions, whether you want to get on a turret or call in some tanks for help. It was so satisfying and it looked so good. I remember the sound design being incredibly immersive as well. Having players coming in, spraying machine gun fire and bombs at you and trying to dodge bullets from every which way. And of course, the explosions have always been beautiful. Using C4 to go up behind a tank, blow a hole in a wall, or trying to dispose of an enemy sniper position. Oh, a chef's kiss to the nostalgia of this sort of gameplay. Battlefield 1943 was actually one of the first videos I ever made on my main channel, the main Resonant channel, because I actually loved it. They did have some support. I mean, later on there was a Coral Sea map, but I don't think that update really made it out as players were kind of moved on by that point. There was actually some controversy around the game. Later on, because the player base started to die down, Sony announced that they would release a version of the game, or, well, Battlefield 1943, on the disc of Battlefield 3. So you could play both. And of course, Battlefield 3, we know being one of the most popular games in the franchise, even to this day, was going to boost the player base massively for this World War II shooter. That never ended up happening, and actually I think EA/DICE felt a little bit guilty, so made all the Battlefield 3 expansions available early to PS3 customers because they kind of screwed that one up. I don't know whether that was down to Sony or EA, but hey, that happened. But all in all, it leaves a legacy of a game that is now digital only, and in fact at the time it became the fastest selling download only game after the first week, selling over 1.5 million copies. But I think it has been forgotten in the mainstream. Most of pop culture don't talk about this title anymore. You tend to go from Battlefield 2 to Bad Company, with not much in between, when there were actually a plethora of games like 2142 and of course Modern Combat as an expansion. But 1943, that was the game for me, and that was the title I will always remember as my World War II Battlefield nostalgia.